The year was 1967, a time when America's streets were filled with protests, music, and rebellion. But behind the steel doors of Detroit's automotive world, a different kind of revolution was taking shape. Inside Chevrolet's secret workshops, engineers were not waving protest signs. They were crafting a weapon, a small, furious, high-revving machine that would soon shake the foundations of American motorsport. Its name would become legend, the Chevrolet 302 V8, the forbidden engine that General Motors executives tried their best to keep hidden from the public. You might think you know the story of American muscle cars, but the truth is incomplete until you've heard what really happened with the 302. It wasn't just an engine, it was a 5.0-liter act of defiance, a piece of mechanical rebellion packed into an impossibly compact design. It was born not out of marketing or corporate approval, but out of pure passion from a few rogue engineers who wanted to build something that could annihilate the competition while avoiding corporate detection. This wasn't just horsepower, it was war, industrial rivalry, engineering brilliance, and a hint of espionage, all locked inside an iron block that could scream past 7,000 RPM, while most engines of the time begged for mercy at 5,500. Yet the most shocking truth is that this engine was never meant to exist. It broke GM's internal rules, defied the company's displacement policies, and threatened to outperform even Chevrolet's own big block powerhouses. By the time upper management realized what had been unleashed, it was too late. The 302 was already on the streets, and the world would never be the same again. The late 1960s were a battlefield in Detroit. Ford, Chrysler, and GM were locked in an all-out horsepower war, a clash with no mercy and no rules. But there was one arena that truly mattered, the Trans Am Racing Series. Its regulations were strict. Engines could not exceed 305 cubic inches. Ford had their 302 ready, but Chevrolet's smallest V8 at the time was a 327. Something had to be done. Fast. In 1967, working quietly and without official approval, a small team of Chevy engineers performed a kind of mechanical surgery that would rewrite automotive history. They combined the 4-inch bore of the 327 with the short 3-inch stroke of the 283, creating a 302 cubic inch masterpiece that barely fit under Trans Am's displacement limits. This was not a coincidence. It was rebellion disguised as innovation. While GM executives were busy promoting family sedans and massive big block engines, these underground engineers built a high-strung, track-bred monster designed for one thing: domination. And they found its perfect home in the soon-to-be legendary Camaro Z28. For just 3 years, 1967, 1968, and 1969, the 302 existed officially, but unofficially, it represented something much larger: defiance. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when engineers built for performance instead of profit. The details of the 302 read more like top-secret military blueprints than production specs. The perfect pairing of a 4-inch bore and a 3-inch stroke wasn't random, it was precision strategy. The result was an almost square bore-to-stroke ratio of 1.33 to 1, ideal for high RPM endurance. While other V8s gasped for air at 5,500 RPM, the 302 was just getting warmed up, screaming past 7,000 RPM with ease. Chevrolet claimed it made 290 horsepower, but that number was pure fiction. Insiders knew the truth. A properly tuned 302 could deliver 350 to 375 horsepower straight from the factory. Beneath its unassuming hood were forged steel crankshafts, forged pistons, a solid lifter camshaft with 0.485-inch lift, and a brutal 11-to-1 compression ratio. A Holley 4-barrel carburetor fed it with laser precision, and the sound it produced wasn't just mechanical noise. It was a declaration of war against conformity. Every piece of the 302 was overbuilt. It was as if the engineers knew this engine would be pushed far beyond its supposed limits. Coincidence? Hardly. Even its high-rise aluminum intake manifold had an experimental design, rumored to have roots in Chevrolet's secret racing division. Its double-hump cylinder heads and massive 2.02-inch intake valves were derived from race-tested designs at Daytona and Sebring. The connecting rods? The same spec as those used in the legendary L88 racing engines, shot-peened, magnaflexed, and virtually indestructible. Hidden oil passages, strengthened bearings, and other unseen improvements appeared in the 302 long before they reached standard production blocks. This wasn't just an engine, it was a race-bred prototype disguised as a street option. So why did Chevrolet kill the 302 after only 3 short years? The official line blamed tightening emission standards and a shift towards fuel efficiency. But insiders tell a different story. The 302 was too good, dangerously good. It was embarrassing Chevrolet's own big block engines, the ones that generated far more profit. Why would a customer pay top dollar for a 396 when a lighter, sharper, and cheaper 302 Camaro could run circles around it? GM's corporate leaders saw it as a problem, the so-called Z28 issue. Quiet internal memos revealed growing concern that the 302 was making the rest of Chevrolet's performance lineup look obsolete. Their solution? The simple: restrict production, limit advertising, and ultimately, shut it down. By 1970, the 302 was gone, replaced with more compliant, emissions-friendly engines that wouldn't threaten the company's carefully built hierarchy. Even when racers begged GM to continue building the 302 for competition use, their requests were ignored. The decision was final. The message was clear. This kind of mechanical rebellion would not be tolerated again. The 302 knew too much, did too much, and pushed too far. And because of that, it had to be buried. But legends never stay buried for long.
The true greatness of Chevrolet's 302 V8 wasn't captured in brochures or factory documents. It was written in tire marks across racetracks all over America. In 1968 and 1969, the Camaro Z28, powered by the 302, didn't just compete in the Trans Am series, it dominated it. Under the skillful hands of driver Mark Donohue and the legendary Penske racing team, this once-secret experiment evolved into a dynasty. The results spoke louder than any advertisement General Motors could ever publish. 10 victories in the 1969 season alone. The 302 didn't simply win races, it crushed reputations. Rival pit crews from Ford, Dodge, and AMC watched in disbelief as these engines screamed past 7,000 RPM lap after lap without failure, while their own power plants needed frequent rebuilds. Properly tuned, the 302 seemed untouchable, a small block that behaved like it was carved out of pure determination. What made these victories even more impressive was the level of competition. This wasn't triumph over weak opponents or outdated technology. It was a direct assault on the best engines Ford, Dodge, and AMC could build. The Boss 302, the 340, and every other contender were no match for the relentless precision and endurance of Chevrolet's Rebel engine, and its success wasn't limited to one discipline. The 302 made its presence known in drag racing, hill climbs, and endurance events, proving that it was far more than a specialized racing motor. It was a masterpiece of versatility. Drivers who understood how to work its high-revving power band became legends behind the wheel. Today, the Chevrolet 302 is more than an engine. It's a symbol of forbidden performance, a piece of history that collectors chase like sacred treasure. Authentic, numbers-matching 302 Z28s have become the holy grail of the muscle car world, with well-preserved examples often selling between $150,000 and $250,000. Rare CPO versions or special order variants can fetch even higher prices. While part of this value comes from rarity, only around 20,000 Z28s were produced with a 302, the real worth lies in what the engine represents, the final breath of pure, unrestricted performance before emissions laws and corporate caution took over. Every detail, from a date code stamped on the block to a casting mark on the heads, tells a story of rebellion, a time when engineers built machines that defied corporate rules and created legends by accident. Ironically, the very engine GM once tried to downplay has become one of the most coveted creations in the company's history. Original components, forged cranks, solid lifter cams, and high-rise intake manifolds now trade hands for prices that would leave their creators speechless. A pristine, never-installed intake alone can sell over $5,000. There's even an entire industry dedicated to authenticating these engines. Specialists now use microscopic casting analysis, metallurgical testing, and archived documentation to distinguish genuine 302 parts from modern reproductions. In the high-stakes world of vintage muscle car collecting, the 302's components are examined as carefully as evidence in a forensic investigation. Though it's been gone for more than half a century, the 302's DNA still runs through modern performance engines. Its engineering philosophy, high revs, light rotating mass, Balanced bore-to-stroke ratios and efficient airflow became the foundation for everything that followed. Look at today's LS engines, and you'll see the spirit of the 302 in every over-square design and in every high-revving variant. When GM built the 7,000 RPM 5.5-liter LS7 for the Corvette Z06, they weren't inventing a new idea, they were reviving an old one. Even rival manufacturers absorbed the 302's lessons. Ford's Coyote V8s and Dodge's modern Hemis both share the same core principles that made the 302 a legend: lightweight internals, optimized breathing, and durability at high RPMs. The ideas born in 1967 have become universal truths of performance engineering. Most importantly, the 302 reshaped how enthusiasts think about power. It taught the world that true performance isn't just about displacement. It's about how efficiently an engine can use every cubic inch. It also introduced a culture of hidden horsepower, where automakers quietly underrated power figures, allowing for enthusiasts to discover for themselves that their engines made far more than claimed, just like the 302 did all those years ago. Even today, underground builders create modern interpretations of the 302, combining modern materials with old-school design. These engines aren't copies, they're tributes, spiritual successors that honor the philosophy of passion over politics. They keep alive a legacy of engineering freedom that refuses to fade. The Chevrolet 302 V8 isn't just another chapter in car history. It's proof of what happens when creativity breaks free from corporate control. For 3 short years, this small block masterpiece showed the world what was possible when performance came before profit and passion outran bureaucracy. Today, surviving 302-powered Camaros still roar across vintage racing tracks, their exhaust notes echoing through time as reminders of an era that can never be replicated. Each one poses the same haunting question to every car lover and historian: what if? What if GM had continued to refine it? What if regulations hadn't changed the game? What if this rebellious creation had been allowed to evolve? The truth about the 302 was never written in press releases or marketing slogans. It was written in burnt rubber, in victory laps, and in the quiet pride of the engineers who built it against the odds. The 302 wasn't just an engine. It was a revolution cast in iron, a defiant heartbeat that refused to be silenced.